Another season goes by, and another first round exit for Russell Westbrook. But another season goes by, and another season where he averages a triple-double. Which side are you on? Do we bypass his playoff failures because he puts up numbers that literally no one has ever done other than Oscar Robertson almost 60 freaking years ago? Or do we bypass his excellence in the regular season because he can't even win one single round in the playoffs? Yes, we're talking about the most polarizing player in the game today. I hear people say he's not even the top 50 players of all time. They highlight his playoff failures, they call him a stat padder, and they mention his lack of efficiency on his shooting and his high turnover rate. Then I hear some fans say, mostly younger fans, that he's as high as top 20. Yes, that's an actual thought that people have. So what do we do with his career? Well, let's take it from an unbiased fan. I personally like watching Westbrook and admire his world talent gifts. But he's not my favorite player though. So trust me, I ain't gonna get too passionate about him. So since I'm the glass half full kind of guy, I'm gonna start with the positive parts of his game and legacy. And since he's undisputably an all-time great and future Hall of Famer, there's much more positives than negatives. So we want to start with the first thing we think of when talking about Russell Westbrook, and that's the triple-double. Now, some detractors aren't giving too much importance in Westbrook averaging a triple-double for a season. Obviously so, if they don't want to put him in the top 50. One thing we hear a lot of people say is that if a certain player really wanted to, they could average a triple-double for a season. Whether it's Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Grant Hill, Jason Kidd, or LeBron James. To be honest, they've been saying that since 1962, when Oscar Robertson did it for the first and only time. Yeah, so I guess no one really wanted to be in basketball lore and accomplish a thing that only one player has ever done for 55 years. Yeah, I'm not buying it. I don't know about you. But Westbrook did. And he didn't just do it, but he broke some impressive records along the way. Let's look at some records he holds in that department. He had the most triple-doubles in a single season with 42. He's the only player in NBA history to average a triple-double throughout 3 consecutive seasons. He's had the most 50-point triple-doubles in a single season with 3. And he's had the most consecutive games with a triple-double with 11 games. So if you really think that a certain player can accomplish the rare feat of averaging a triple-double for a season, then that's fine, man. But there's nobody that could have done this for 3 seasons in a row. And for 4 total for a career and counting. That is a testament of the type of motor Westbrook plays with on a nightly basis. And there's not that many players that we can say that gives a crap more than him. There is no question that what he has accomplished as KD left in the 2016 offseason is incredibly impressive. And to just dismiss it makes no sense to me. Now we'll get to the other side of those seasons in a minute. The half-empty take soon. Don't worry, it's coming. But let's go back real quick. Because there are 2 acts of his career. We want to analyze what he accomplished as the co-star for the KD era of the OKC Thunder. We're going to start from the 2010/11 season, as that is when he started playing at an all-star level, and we'll go all the way to KD's final season there. Now, he made the all-star every season from that span, with the exception of the 2013/14 season, when he missed half the season due to injuries. As far as where he ranked among the league during that span, He made 4 All-NBA second teams and 1 first team. In 2013, he finished 9th in MVP voting, and he had 2 fourth-place finishes. That means he had a strong argument for being a top 5 player for at least 2 seasons as being the second best player in a team. Now, unfortunately for Thunder fans, the team had to fight the injury bug and essentially waste 2 straight seasons due to major injuries from their star players. We already mentioned that Westbrook missed half of the 2014 season, and then KD only played 27 games the following season. And I mean all their main players missed a chunk of time during that season, including Westbrook. So for obvious reasons, they missed the playoffs that season. Now there is one season that we want to highlight from Westbrook, and that is the 2015/16 season. That season, he averaged 23.7 points per game on 44% shooting, 8 assists per game, 5.9 rebounds per game, and 1.9 steals per game. That is definitely his best season as a co-star. He finished 2nd in assists per game, 5th in steals per game, and 8th in points per game. As far as his advanced stats, he finished 3rd in win shares and PER, 4th in value over replacement player, and 6th in box plus minus. He also had 18 triple-doubles that season, along with 4 games where he scored 40 or more. So like we already mentioned, he had a very strong case that season for being a top 5 player in the league. Now I want to highlight his win shares for that season, as he finished with a 14.0 win shares. Now for comparison to other all-time great co-stars, that's higher than everything Scottie Pippen's ever done, all of Kobe's except for the 03 season, and all of Kevin McHale's except for the 87 season. So he contributed in a big way for that team. And believe it or not, it's his highest win share total for a season for his career, even higher than the following season when he was a one-man show. So listen, we remember that the OKC Thunder were always in contention to win the title, and they were always one of the top teams in the league. And the reality is that Russell Westbrook was a big reason why. And they did have playoff success. They made it to the finals in 2012, and they made it to the conference finals 3 other seasons. So that means if KD and Westbrook were healthy, they were at least going to the conference finals. They were able to beat in the playoffs Kobe and Pau Gasol of the Lakers, Chris Paul and Blake Griffin of the Clippers, and the Duncan-era Spurs twice. Most notably, they're able to knock out in 2016 of that Spurs when they won 67 games in the regular season. And from that span, he was able to average 24.9 points per game on 41% shooting, 7.8 assists per game, 6.3 rebounds per game, and 1.9 steals per game. Those are superstar numbers, no question about it. And for his lone finals appearance, he averaged for the series 27 points per game on 43% shooting, 6.6 assists per game, and 6.4 rebounds per game. That's pretty good too. Now before we officially end the Russell Westbrook Love Fest, we have to mention his historic 2016/17 season. He averaged from that season 31.6 points per game on 43% shooting, 10.7 rebounds per game, and 10.4 assists per game. Now, we already highlighted earlier some of the things he accomplished historically with his triple-doubles that season. Now, I want to highlight some advanced stats he had for that season. Let's start with his value over replacement player. He had a 9.3 value over replacement player. That is the 22nd highest in NBA history for a single season. Here are the players that are above him. Tracy McGrady in 03, James Harden in 2019, Steph Curry in 2016, Dwayne Wade in 2009, Kevin Durant in 2014, Chris Paul in 2008 and 2009, David Robinson in 94. Then you have 5 different LeBron seasons and 7 different Jordan seasons. Now let's look at his box plus minus. He had an 11.1 box plus minus. That is the 13th highest in history. The players above him is Giannis in 2020, Nikola Jokic this season, Curry in 2016. Then you have 3 LeBron seasons and 5 Jordan seasons. So that's the company that he's in for that legendary season. All-time great players who are in the pantheon of NBA legends. Giannis isn't quite there yet, but he was the MVP in 2020. And the Joker is going to win the MVP this year. So yeah. And people still think Harden deserved the MVP that season. I mean, I get their team won more, but he wasn't putting up these numbers. So Westbrook was absolutely deserving of that award. Now at this point, we're thinking, well, he's a top 20 player then, right? But hold on. There's another side to this. So the easy counter to Westbrook's legacy is his inefficiencies. He's averaged for his career 44% from the field. That's below average. But that's only 1% lower than Kobe's career average. And I think he's top 10 all time. So that's okay, right? But Westbrook's career average for the playoffs is 41%. That one is hard to defend. Now we know he's led the league in assists per game 3 times in his career. But he's also led the league in turnovers 4 times in his career. In fact, he's had 2 total seasons where he's landed in the top 5 of most turnovers made for a single season. James Harden has 3 total in the top 5, so there's that. Now I'd like to compare Westbrook to Kobe. Because before Westbrook came along, Kobe was the most polarizing player in the league. And he's probably the most polarizing in history, behind only Wilt Chamberlain. Now when people point out his inefficiencies and the shots he misses, we can point to Kobe's playoff success. We can say, hey, he made 7 final appearances and won 5, including 2 finals MVPs. We can't ignore his inefficiencies, but we can point to at least 5 different times where it didn't hurt his team enough to lose. Because Kobe won, and he won a lot. Now we can't say the same for Westbrook. Take for instance his last 2 conference finals appearances. Both times, he averaged 26 points per game, but shot 40% from the field. And in the 2014 conference finals, he even shot more than KD, which is a no-no. You want arguably the most efficient perimeter scorer in history taking the most shots. In fact, you can make the case that the Thunder were better off when Westbrook wasn't shooting a lot. Here's a crazy stat from that 2015/16 regular season. When he shot 14 times or less, the OKC Thunder went 17-0, undefeated. Now when he shot 20 times or more, the Thunder went 14-13, barely over 500. So his teams benefited more when he wasn't forcing the issue on offense. But when the playoffs come, he's even more hyper-competitive, which is fine. That's why he's so great. But it's also the reason why when it's time to win big games, they don't. So when KD left, he probably felt like Russ will never get it. And you know what? He was right. Since he's left, his teams have only won 7 playoff games and lost 20. including 3 first-round exits, and very soon that will be 4. And we can't forget that he had Paul George for 2 of those playoff runs. But it just didn't matter. They didn't just lose. They weren't even in the series. And the reality is that it's not getting better. The Rocket experiment didn't work, and this season was almost a disaster. Now, you can point to his per-game numbers and say, hey, he averaged a triple-double this season, and he averaged 27 points per game last season. Like, cut him some slack. But look at his advanced stats for the last 2 seasons. He had a 4.2 win shares last season and 3.7 this season. 1.8 value over replacement player last season and 3.2 this season. And then he had a 1.5 box plus minus and a 3.4 this season. Guys, he wasn't in the top 100 in win shares this season, and he was 83rd in win shares last season. And in the playoffs, he had a negative 0.2 win shares last season, or last playoffs. So yeah, the triple doubles he made this season was nice, but we can say without being a hater for this season that it didn't help his team win. And the fact is that Westbrook doesn't seem to know to play any other way. So it's hard to predict that he can contribute to a championship winning team at this point of his career. So, now we get to his all-time ranking. For me, his greatness in the regular season, his ridiculous numbers that he puts, the fact that he won an MVP award, along with his deep playoff runs that he helped the Thunder make in the KD era, is enough to be in the top 50. But these last 5 seasons in the playoffs, and the way he shot his teams out of the games, makes me put him in the 45 to 40 range. Listen, I know you can't win every season, but if you're going to lose, at least look pretty doing it. And he didn't. But that's part of the Westbrook experience. Sometimes he's amazing, breathtaking, and sometimes it looks ugly. But top 50 is no knock. It's an incredible accomplishment for an incredible player. Thanks for listening. Till next time.